Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to our Coptic Center Sunday evening virtual experience as we once again gather in light and in love, in the universal truth, and our ongoing quest towards self-mastery as we gather tonight in a beautiful summer evening. And look forward to wonderful words of wisdom, and it's about prayer tonight with Alan, which it's going to be a good one. But who is this guy, Alan Tutt? He's been with us. Some of you know him well. And he's a photographer, an author, a speaker, a coach, a market consultant of marketing, and just some of the words to describe this guy. Yet sometimes they feel a little flat, according to his words. And how about these words? Lover, explorer, artist, wanderer, mystical, deep, complex. Like most people, he cannot fully contain those description of himself in a few just words. I am who and what I am. Sounds familiar? It's little words off his website, by the way. He is an expression of the divine, just as we are all expressions of the divine. And yes, I feel I am special, but no more than you, his words of wisdom does state. And you are magnificent. Most of what Alan does is intended to help you express the full potential of the divine spark within you through his writing, photography, business consulting, personal development, and website development. He delves into a lot of different aspects of creativity, and that's just a brief description of what Alan's all about. And he's focused on prayer. He has a couple different books out there. One is called Harmonic Prayer, and he is advancing that words of wisdom with the harmonic prayer that he does teach. And he does have a book out there, a couple of them. Choose to Believe is another one. And tonight's topic with Alan in just a few short minutes will be advanced harmonic prayer as he takes it a step further for you.
Before I really get started, because there are a number of new people here, I think it's probably fair to give you a little bit of just an introduction of who I am. When I was going through high school, I was very much the science geek. I was the math and science nerd, to put it that way. I was really much into this is the way things work. There's a right way and a wrong way to do anything, and there's one perfect answer for any question. And I was very much a devotee of science. And so the whole metaphysical world just seems so strange to me, because there were so many different ideas and people were saying, well, you just visualize this, or you just visualize that, or you just light this candle and say these words, and all this stuff is going to happen. But I couldn't understand how in the world can something inside my mind actually affect the physical world around me. And so that's where I started. I was very much not understanding anything about the metaphysics. And anytime I tried anything metaphysical, anything I tried to manifest something, or anytime I tried to open up the psychic abilities and read a situation, it seemed like either I got no results whatsoever, or I got negative results, which were the complete opposite of what I wanted. But I also knew enough that if there were so many people talking about this stuff, and this stuff had such a long history, there had to be something to it. And my interest was piqued. My curiosity was there. And so I was really anxious, in a way, to learn what is this secret that the Bible keeps talking about, that miracles can happen. Moses parting the Red Sea, Christ turning water into wine, the disciples doing all sorts of different things, going out and healing people. I was really anxious to learn what is the secret to this ability that obviously we humans do have access to. So that's where I started. And really, I tried so many different things, and it just seemed to go nowhere until one morning. I had been walking the streets all night. I had ended up becoming homeless. I pretty much lost everything. And I was just trying to figure out, what's my next step? What's my next step? There's got to be an answer here. There's got to be something that can help me. And I was just putting out the prayer constantly. God help me, God help me, God help me. I know there's a way. I know there's a way to move forward. There's information that I need to learn, and you can show me that. Help me find this information. And so this one morning, I'd been walking the streets all night. I stumbled into a bookstore because, again, being the intellectual, I was really into books. I knew there had to be an answer in a book somewhere. So I stumbled in the bookstore. I was looking over the shelves of books, and one book in particular caught my attention. Joseph Murphy, The Miracle of Mind Dynamics. And this was the book I found on the bookshelf. And what really intrigued me was the front cover that says, shows you how you can tap it by means of an amazing step-by-step 60-second action plan. And it's like, that sounds interesting. Let me see what's in there. And so I'm reading through, opening up the book, and I find the process that he's talking about. And basically, it's just a matter of, okay, realize that God is the only power in the universe. And being that God is the only power in the universe, there is no other power in the universe that can possibly challenge the power of God. And that we are connected to God. We are a part of God. We are one with God. And that by an action of mind, we can imagine the thing that we would like to manifest. Imagine the answer to the prayer that we want, and to mentally accept it as being true, which for the first time in my life, I just simply didn't question it. And I just simply assumed that, okay, the guy's telling me to accept this as true. Okay, I'm imagining that I've actually got some money in my hand, that I can actually get a place to stay, I can get something to eat, and I can move forward. And that was the prayer that I had at that time. And I imagined it, I felt it as if it were true. I felt this sensation of joy and relief coming up within me. And I just put the book back on the shelf because that was the only thing I could do at that time. Later on that day, as I was walking down the sidewalk, there happened to be money just sitting on the sidewalk, $70 on the sidewalk in front of me. I pick it up, I'm looking around, I'm trying to see, who does this money belong to? And I'm waiting, nobody's showing up. And it's like I'm thinking, okay, thank you. Finally, something worked out. And at that time, this is mid-'80s, that was enough money to get a room to rent for a week for $45, a little bit of food. And the next day I went back to the bookstore, bought that book and 2 other books by Joseph Murphy. And that was the first time that I was actually able to manifest something in a positive way. And then, of course, for the rest of the week, I kept trying over and over and over again to repeat that, and it never worked after that, because the reason it didn't work afterwards is because I'd gotten enough rest, my conscious mind was active again, and I was questioning everything. How is this working? Why does that work? How in the world can this connect to that? I was questioning everything, and it was those questions that blocked me off from that divine connection and prevented me from being able to manifest anything until I was able to just let it all go and just accept it as a child accepts the truth that a parent tells them. Christ said that in order for us to inherit the kingdom of heaven, we have to become as little children. And I believe that is one of the key aspects that he was talking about, that we have to have a naive faith that what we are being told is a true thing, and that we can actually pray for the things that we want with faith, believing that we will actually get it and actually get it. And in fact, Christ kept saying over and over and over again, whenever he healed someone, according to your faith is it done unto you. Your faith has healed you. He didn't say anything about he healed the person. He said it was that person's faith that healed them. And in fact, if you really analyze what goes on in the Bible, when he went back to his hometown, it's written that he didn't do very many miracles there because they lacked faith. Now, if Christ himself couldn't perform a miracle because someone lacked faith, that tells us how important our beliefs are, how important our faith is in order for miracles to happen. And that's kind of where I got started. That's what set me off on this very long journey of discovery to learn what is the secret behind these miracles, what makes it happen. And it took me a lot of years, but this scientific, logical thinker finally cracked the code. And it really boils down to just three factors. Faith is the most important factor. In fact, if you can truly believe that the thing that you're asking for in prayer will actually happen, that's all you need, because faith is the thing that really does it. Now, if your faith is not yet there, then there's two other things that can help. One is focus, being able to focus your mind very clearly on the thing that you want and keep your mind focused off of the things you don't want. So if I want to attract greater financial abundance, then I have to focus my mind on the experience of financial abundance and keep my mind focused off of the things that suggest lack. And so focus is a very powerful tool in our ability to manifest. And then the other factor that I tend to feel is a strong component of this as well is what I'm calling feeling. I'm going with the alliteration, faith, focus, and feeling. And in this aspect, feeling refers to a feeling of being connected to the divine, a feeling of being connected in a way that goes beyond just an idea in your mind. And this feeling aspect, this connection to the divine, again, it took me a while to figure out exactly what is this feeling that I recognize within myself when things are actually working. And just a couple of years ago, I finally figured it out that in order to get that feeling that I recognized was there when the manifestations were actually working, it's two parts. Part one is a deep relaxation. And in fact, if you really need to change your beliefs in order to create a manifestation, you want to relax down into an alpha or theta level of mind. Because the further we go down into ourselves, the closer we are to the divine. And this is one of those aspects that helps us connect to the divine. If we can relax deeply into ourselves, we are getting closer and closer to God, which makes it easier to make that connection. The other part of making that connection is what Tara was talking about earlier, the emotion of love. In fact, this type of love, this divine love, this unconditional love goes beyond just the emotion of love. The emotion of love helps us get there. But true divine love is more than an emotion. It's an actual spiritual connection. And faith and love are the two things that Christ talked about over and over and over again through his ministry. And he talked about them because they are practical tools for us to use to live successful human lives. Faith helps us manifest our desires through prayer, and love helps us stay connected to the divine so that our prayers can work. And so that relaxation and feeling of love, gratitude, joy, even sensual pleasure, like the feeling of sitting on a beach or soaking in a tub of water or just getting a massage, things that you enjoy, those types of feelings can help you open up on a spiritual level and make that connection to the divine, which allows your prayers to take place, to actually manifest. And so the harmonic prayer process that I've been talking about the last few years is based on the faith, the focus, and the feeling. And I tend to teach a process that I just describe as relax, imagine, and trust. You relax into yourself. You indulge in positive emotions to help connect to the divine. You imagine what you would like to manifest in rich, vibrant detail as if it's happening right now in the space around you. And then you walk away from the process trusting that it will happen. And for the most part, I've been teaching that if you can relax deeply enough, and if you can imagine the end result that you want to manifest in enough detail, those two steps by themselves will create the trust, the faith necessary for it to manifest. Now, one of the things that I was wanting to talk about tonight is an enhancement to that, which goes into an actual action step, a mental thing that you can actually do to increase your faith. Okay, let me take a breath here. Okay, so that's what the basic harmonic prayer process is all about. That's what I've been talking about at the Coptic Center for the last couple of years. The extra step that I want to bring in tonight, when you are going through the harmonic prayer process, when you have relaxed as deeply as you can and you've made that connection to the divine by opening up your spiritual heart center through love, gratitude, and these other positive emotions, and after you have imagined the thing that you would like to manifest in rich, vivid detail, the trust step, what we can do is we can bring in the idea of absolute truth, the idea of absolute reality, the idea of divine power, these absolute concepts that our minds are connected to the actual energy of truth, the actual energy of physical reality. And that energy of truth, that energy of physical reality can be brought in and attached to the idea of what we would like to manifest. And so within our minds, we bring together the idea of truth and the idea of the thing we want to manifest. We bring these two things together and it becomes one thing. It becomes what they call a thought form that goes out into the world to manifest itself. And so this concept of bringing in the idea of truth and attaching it to the idea of what you would like to manifest, that is one of the key things that I was wanting to talk about tonight. And I'm looking at my time, realizing that I've already gone through most of my allotted time slot, but I do want to cover this in a little bit more detail. Because one of the things that I really strive to do is to give everyone that I talk to practical tools that they could use. How can I actually use this? And bringing in the concept of absolute truth. There's a little process that we can go through, and I'll describe it to you, and you can try to follow along as best you can. And if you need more time, then I would suggest maybe you continue doing this after the session tonight. But the basic idea is start off by thinking about something you know to be an absolute truth. Like, I know that this book is in my hands. This is an absolute truth. I know that I'm sitting on a chair at my desk. These are absolutely true facts of reality for me. And these ideas of reality, it's like if I think about how do I feel about these things? How do I think about these concepts? How do I think about the concept that 2 + 2 = 4? Or the concept that the sky is blue? How do I feel about those concepts? And the important thing is how is that feeling different from the feelings of things that may not be true, the things that are fiction? If I think about something that is a fictional thing, to me, I mean, everyone could experience it differently. I'm not going to say that your experience will be the same as mine, but for me, the experience of thinking about something that is fiction or imaginary, it's like smoke in the air. It's very light. It's like no substance whatsoever. And yet when I think about solid physical things that are absolute facts of reality, those ideas feel solid to me. And so that's one difference that is happening within my mind between things that are real and things that are not so real. Things that I believe 100% and things that I'm not so sure about. And so that's just one aspect of this whole thing. But the basic idea is that when we are going through our prayer process and we want to manifest something into our lives, and let's say it is financial abundance, or let's say it's a new romantic relationship, or new level of vibrant health, or whatever it is that we would like to manifest, when I think about the thing that I would like to manifest, if it starts to feel like that wispy smoke in the air, if I just mentally change the essence of that thought so that it's no longer wispy and floaty, and give it a feeling of solid and substance, that one step alone changes my belief in the expectation of that manifestation happening. So just by doing this one step alone, I can shortcut the prayer process, so that whereas before I may have had to spend 20, 30, 40, maybe 60 minutes in prayer to shift my beliefs enough to actually expect the thing to manifest, I can shortcut that process to something very, very quick. And like any muscle, like any skill, the more you practice it, the better you get at it, and the quicker you can do it. And so you may not necessarily be able to do it in 10 seconds right off the bat, but if you practice it, then yes, it is something that you can just simply bring this concept in, attach it to the thing that you'd like to manifest, and have the faith in that expected result where it needs to be in just a short period of time. And so that is one of the big things that I wanted to bring with you tonight. And there's a couple different ways that we could use that. Actually, at this point, I would like to open up for questions, because I want to use the time that we do have to the best ability, and I don't want to just be guessing what your questions might be. I would like anybody who has a question about how can we actually use this, or if you would like to work through a process of finding the way that your mind associates truth or falsehood, or truth or fiction with different ideas, I'm happy to work with you and try to help you work through that. Again, any questions you might have, that's going to help me present the right information at this time. So who's got the first question? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. And okay, I'm looking at videos and nobody seems to be reaching for the...
Hey, I have.
Okay,
something.
Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Thank you.
Yes. How does this correlate with James T. Murphy's The Power of the Subconscious Mind?
The power of the subconscious mind. He talks about the power of the subconscious mind as if it's the power of the divine mind. In fact, the divine mind is reached through the subconscious mind. And so from our perspective of life, the subconscious mind, the divine mind, they appear to our conscious minds the same way. And so it is very much in line with that. It's pretty much, in my opinion, it's the same thing.
Okay, thank you. And I do a soul call meditation to draw my soulmate to me, and it goes through visualization techniques about visualizing the first thing you're going to say to your soulmate, where you're going to go, your first date, your first movie, your marriage, your honeymoon, visualizing in vivid detail, like you say.
Right.
To manifest your soulmate into your life.
Right. And that's one of the examples that I've used over and over and over again through the years is the relationship I have now with Linda. What was it, 23 years ago, I finally decided it was time to really get that, as you say, the soulmate. And I went through this process of every evening for about a half an hour or so. I would relax into myself. I'd make that connection. I would imagine the different things that I wanted to be a part of that relationship. I wanted there to be music. I wanted theater to be a part of it, which is something that I'd never experienced before then. I wanted to do a certain amount of traveling. I wanted to have certain types of conversations. I imagined all of that in rich, vivid detail. And the thing that I keep talking about over and over again, the thing that was really the thing that took it over the edge is I truly expected that it was going to happen and happen very soon. In fact, I did these prayer sessions in the evenings, and then the very next day, as I'm going through my world, I would be constantly on the lookout. Okay, am I going to meet her here? Is she in that building? Is she around that corner? Where am I going to meet her? If I don't meet her today, it might be tomorrow, but it's going to be sometime soon.
You have hope, real hope.
I had a lot more than hope. In fact, I'll just leave it at that. I kind of look at a scale of beliefs where wishing is down at the bottom. It's like you wish something was true, but you know for a fact it's not. And then you get to a hope. You hope something could be true. And then somewhere in there you have belief and faith. And then you have you're pretty sure you expect something to be true. And then at the top, you know it's true.
Right.
It's an
faith,
absolute
hope, and
fact
love.
of reality.
Yeah, I agree. And Jesus said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, then you'll have what you want.
Yep. You can always grow it.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
I love your example, and what I've done as you were talking about it is I'm visualizing you're coming on one of these meetings, maybe in the next week or two, and you're going to be saying, guess what? Guess what? I met him.
I got the ring.
It happened. It happened.
Thank you. I'm definitely
visualizing that
for
you.
And praying for it and manifesting for it. Thank you.
It's going to happen.
Thank you.
So who else has a question? Who else wants to bring something else?
Let's hear how you met Linda.
Well, okay. I'll go ahead and finish the rest of that story. Basically, what happened was that after a period of time, it did take about a month or two for it to actually manifest at that time, because I didn't know as much as I know now. But at that time, I was just trying to piece things back together again. This was after some pretty negative things happened in my life. But I was piecing things back together again, and one Wednesday afternoon, I just had this feeling. It's been a long time since I've gone to a church that had a meditation service. I really want to join a meditation group. So I pulled out the yellow pages, I looked it up, found Unity in Ada had meditation services on Wednesday nights. I'm thinking, okay, it's Wednesday night. This has got to be a sign. So I called them up. Jim Ashby, the minister there, he answered the phone. I said I was interested in coming to the Wednesday night meditation. He told me they didn't actually do those anymore, but they had a class going on, but I was welcome to come in. I went to the class. I started going to the church. A couple of weeks later, at the end of the service, I'm getting my coat ready to leave. Someone taps me on the shoulder. I turn around. I see Linda. It's like, I knew right then, you're the one I'm here for.
She tapped you on the shoulder?
She tapped me on the shoulder just to say hi. She was just being friendly. And so we got to talking. I said I was going out for lunch. I invited her to come along. We went to lunch. We had a conversation. She told me about a music conference that the two Unity churches in town were doing that evening. We went there. That night, I asked, okay, I'm really enjoying our time together. When can I see you again? And that's the way it went for a while. It's like every time we got together, when can I see you again? When can I see you again? When can I see you again? And eventually she said, you know what? I don't know what you're looking for. I'm not ready for a relationship at this point. And I said, no problem. I just enjoy the time we're together. And that's just how it started. And so we're still together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's 22 and a half years by this point. And before this relationship, the longest I ever had a relationship was a year and a half.
Wow.
So this is new for me, and I am enjoying it.
Good.
That's great.
Ellen, I have a question.
Sure.
It's about questions. So how do questions enter into this? Because I'm finding more and more when I ask myself a question, it's like my mind takes me to the answer, and sometimes it's immediate.
Yep. I find the exact same thing. In fact, Tony Robbins, one of the things that I remember from him is that the quality of your results depends on the quality of your questions, because your mind will always answer the question you ask it. So if you want better results, ask yourself better questions. And I find the exact same thing, because if I ask myself a question, or if I hear a question that someone else asks, it's like my subconscious mind prepares the answer and presents it to my conscious mind, and I don't have to go looking for it. And so that's why I really love having questions and responding to questions. It's a whole lot easier to work with. And yes, that's one of the things that I work with quite a bit, is ask yourself the question and expect the answer to come from the divine mind within, because it is according to our faith is it done unto us. If we expect true and honest answers to come from our subconscious mind, then true and honest answers will actually come from our subconscious mind. And if you just for general information for anyone watching the video later, as well as anyone else here that may not have asked the question, if you ever get to a point where you're not sure if you're finding the right information or not, one thing that I found is going through this prayer process, relaxing, connecting to the divine within, and then visualizing the fact that you have an answer to the question. That can manifest the answer. And whether the answer comes immediately within the prayer session itself or comes later, it depends on how clear your mind is, how readily you can accept the answer that's coming, and a few other factors like that. Most of the time when I need to ask a question and I need to go within to get the answer, it's like I bring myself down, I make that connection, I ask the question, and it's like immediately, even before I'm finished asking the question, the answer is already there. But sometimes I get down there, I get in there, and I'm asking the question, and it's like all I'm hearing is crickets. It's like, okay, where's the answer? Where's the answer? Okay, I got to trust. I've got to trust. I've got to believe that the answer will be there when it needs to be there. And in fact, what was it, a month or 2 months ago, I was looking for this little item that I knew had to be somewhere in this office, and I couldn't find it. I had spent a week looking for this thing. And this was after spending way too much time watching YouTube videos and Netflix, so my mind was chaos. So it was not clear to receive the answer, but I went down, I asked the question, and it's like, okay, I want to have this device, this little thing, and I visualized having it in my hand. So I manifested the result that I wanted. And then within a half an hour, I looked 2 other places, and the second place I looked, there it was. And it's like I'd spent a week looking for this thing, and within a half an hour, I had it.
That's great. I actually asked Archangel Camuel to help me find stuff.
Sure.
It works.
Any process that works. And that's one of the things that I always have to remind myself about, is that even though I teach a specific process for prayer, there is no specific process. There is no one process that works for everyone. There's the 3 factors. Faith is the most important factor. As long as you can believe that you will get the result you're looking for, you will. And it doesn't matter what process you're using to get there. And then if you need to shift the faith, then focus and that feeling of connection can help you shift the faith to make it happen. But any process that you use that helps you believe that the result will come is a good process to use.
It's kind of in the same category, but the ask, knock, seek thing, when the door shall be open.
Yep.
I'm experiencing that more and more all the time, and just different things I put out there, and I'll start to feel frustrated, and then I remind myself just the fact that I'm seeking the answer to this,
right?
Whatever it is.
It's 2 sides of the coin. You can't have one side without the other.
Right. And one of the things with COVID is when they come up with updates, anything you look at, they always have visual of the virus floating around. And after a week or so of that, I went, yeah, this is nuts. We're bringing it to us. And I went online and I found pictures of healthy, clear lungs. And I posted it on Facebook and said, visualize this, you guys. It was driving me crazy because that stuff's in front of you all the time. It's just
related to that. There's something that I've seen in the news, commercials, all sorts of different things. And I know with this group, it might be a touchy subject, but I do want to throw it out there anyways. And that is, if we can imagine this pandemic, the virus being completely gone, then we will get rid of it. And one of the things that is appalling on one hand, but also it's beneficial on the other. The whole thing about Trump denying the fact that this virus is going to go anywhere. He kept saying, okay, this is going to go nowhere. This is going to just die out. I mean, he kept saying that kind of thing. And people say, well, he's ignoring the science. He's ignoring the facts of reality. And he may have personal reasons for doing that. I'm not going to say that he's a saint for doing this, but I'm just saying that that type of thing, if we can shift the beliefs of people around the world to say, okay, this thing is dying out, this thing is going to go away, then our beliefs can make it happen.
Yes, we're shifting the energy.
Yes. So I'm not going to go any further on that. I just wanted to throw that out there and say there's two sides to a lot of things.
I get the feeling that there's a reason for this. And when we're ready to come out and have a new experience of life, a more positive, affirming, healthier way of being, generally, then this will disappear because we won't have a need for it anymore.
Right.
Yes, it's all about declaring our personal sovereignty.
I liked something that Laura Joy, I think you said it last week. You were talking about how if we can visualize health and healing, you said it's like there's this dark net trying to close up. Do you remember you were describing that? And that our energy could break that net, break holes in it? I've been thinking about that all week. Oh. So is that how you described it? Could you clarify that?
Similar. What I was getting in a lot of different meditations and visualizations, that I was even making it stronger, was that I was seeing this energy surrounding the earth. It wasn't so much a net, but it could be if that's what you can see. But it was almost like Alan was talking about, the wispy things that sort of fiction out, but it's not really that way. But it was joining up together and making connections so that it was surrounding the earth. Gaia was not happy. We're not happy, all these life forms that are on Gaia. But what was happening was, for every single prayer, every single affirmation, every single connection, anytime we were smiling or whatever, just doing some service work, anything at all that's of the positive, it was chipping away at these little things, because it's trying to make itself concrete and really be surrounding the earth. And to me, it was white. It was light. It was light in color. But that's just what I saw. But I kept seeing things breaking off. It was not able to be fully formed all the way around the earth because of us, all these light workers.
It's interesting. What I saw when Linda was describing that was almost like a cloth that was blocking out the light, and then we have these little pinpricks, and a light shines through here and a light shines through there, and pretty soon they create almost like a tear. And those little pinpricks of light coming through get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until they just take over the whole thing.
Yeah. And I would just imagine ripping that cloth completely away. And that's just one other idea I do want to bring in with this idea of absolute truth, bringing in this concept into your prayer and attaching it to the thing that you want to manifest. It doesn't have to be just truth. The idea of divine power is also a part of this. If we can believe that one person can affect the entire world, then we have so much power available to us that one person literally can change the world. We can heal the world in just groups of 2 or 3. We don't need thousands and thousands of people to heal the world. We just need to make a decision that we do have the power and we are going to make it happen.
Well, the groups of 2 or 3 affect another group of 2 or 3 until the 100th monkey concept comes into effect, and it just naturally happens in consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in unity prayer is to thank God for the healing to have already been completed. Even though we don't see it at this time, we know that it is complete because God has completed it. And if you leave with that idea is it's completed and I will see the results soon, then that's the same thing that you're saying, Alan.
Yep. In fact, there's an example related to that. Greg Braden wrote about this experience that he saw a group of spiritual healers working on a patient, and there was like some kind of tumor or something, and they had some device like an ultrasonic or thing watching the tumor as they were working on this, and they were chanting over and over and over again, which translated to English was translated as, "It is already done, it is already done, it is already done, it is already done." And I don't remember how long it took them, but it was only a few minutes, I think. And eventually that tumor just disappeared.
Absolutely. You can command that it be healed. I was healed by Reverend Sally Knuckles at the United Metaphysical Chapel here in Roanoke. I had fallen down I had a disastrous fall on Groundhog Day 3 years ago on a concrete staircase. I fell head first all the way down the concrete staircase, and I tore my meniscus and messed up basically all of my lower extremities. I hit my head on the railing and everything. And she commanded, I was just standing right by her, and she said, "You are healed." And I have not had to have surgery, and I can walk normally now. Praise God.
Wow.
And that's the power we're talking about.
Yes.
We all have that power.
Alan, I have a question for you and everyone. A lot of times when you project things out that you want to have manifested in your life, and you put so much intent to it, then time goes by and it doesn't happen. Is there a letting go period that you do in your practice? I've heard it. Sometimes you have to let things go to have it manifest, but other times things happen, boom, just instantly. I've seen it work both ways.
What I can say is that what I found in my own experience was that when I was so intent on trying to make something happen, the reason I was so intense was because I also had a belief that it wasn't going to happen unless I could force it. And so that intensity of will reflected a lack of belief. And it was the lack of belief that prevented it from happening. Once I was able to shift the belief and say, okay, this is going to happen one way or another, when you get to that level of faith, then letting it go is just the natural thing you do. Because it's like, okay, I don't have to do anything. It's already going to happen.
In my many years with Ahmed Bey, I heard him speak many times. And his method of creation was very simple. He always said it, I believe, I believe, I believe.
Yeah.
And he was an example to keep our prayers powerful and simple and do them as if they're going to happen, and that we have the power and the belief, and we're dealing with this situation in the world today. Then we can pray and say, I believe this is going to be resolved. I believe, I believe, I believe. Anything is possible. He also said that. Anything is possible. If you believe it's possible, then you just do that and it will manifest. We may not manifest it in 5 minutes, but it will happen. And as a result of the great man that he was, this philosophy is based upon his wisdom and his humility and his service and his dedication. But I never forgot it. I believe. I believe.
Yep. That intensity of belief, that intensity of faith has more influence on the outcome than how much time you spend easy going thinking about the final result. I mean, visualizing a final result with a low level of intensity over a period of time can work. But if you can bring in that super strong faith, this is definitely going to happen. It is a fact of reality. It is already done. I just need to wait for it. And that intensity of belief, rather than intensity of will, is what makes it happen so much faster.
Yes, the Bible says the effectual, earnest prayer of a righteous man availeth much.
Yep.
I believe that the power comes from the silence. You know, and Ellen mentioned to go to an alpha or deeper state, that, you know, if everything we thought manifested, could you imagine what the world would be like? You know, so it's good that our thoughts don't manifest things. But I believe that when we can step into that silence, or step out of time, or go into an alpha state, whatever term you want to call it, when you bring all of the things that he said into that state, then that's, and then the belief, and the belief is like molding that smoke into something solid that will come into your life.
Right. And you're suggesting a very good way of working too, in that you can separate your mind into two places: the normal thinking mind where nothing actually manifests, and then the manifesting mind where you have to shift into that state to make things happen. And you can separate the two places conceptually within your mind so that you can be a little bit better protected in that respect.
I think if you say, I wish something would happen, you're defeating your purpose there, because you're saying, I don't expect it to happen, I wish it would. And it's not going to. It's going to stay out there in the future where you keep wishing. If you say, thank you for the fact that this has occurred, I believe that it is so, then you've made a real definite actual belief statement, not a pie in the sky.
Yep.
I think there's also a timing thing too. Sometimes things need to have certain factors in place. So part of the prayer needs to be asking the divine mind, God, for in your time, not in my time, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen when the right situation is in place. Things are, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying, right?
Right. There's going to be a flow that happens naturally, and most of the manifestations will happen through the normal flow of events. Very rarely will you actually have the sky parting and thunder clapping and angels singing to herald the manifestation of your desire. It's going to happen through the normal process of things, and my way of thinking is that it's going to happen in the divine timing regardless. And as long as you can accept the fact that it could happen quickly, because if your belief is that it's going to take time, then you're going to create that time as part of your experience. So it could happen now, it could happen tomorrow, it may take a couple of months. Who knows what the timing is going to be? It is going to happen.
And hopefully with the Mandela effect, we can escape the time limits.
John, I was going to say to John, there's a unity hymn, Barb probably knows this, called Only Believe. All things are possible, only believe. The lyrics are that.
That's it.
So that isn't just a Coptic concept. That's already out there, being a type sort of hymns. I have seen that in others.
I'm glad it is.
So Jack Boland thought that he said, what will be won't be. So it's not, I will, this will happen, because it's more like now. And whether it's showing up in your physical experience, it is there. And I think that's important. And gratitude, enthusiasm, excitement. Jack Boland's talked about assuming the feelings. I thought, how do you assume the feelings if you've never had this before? How do you know what that feels like? So I guess just cultivating an attitude of gratitude and feeling an excitement.
Mm-hmm.
That's also the treasure mapping, where you actually can find a picture of something that you want. I have a friend who had been looking for a new house, and once they got their house, when she was moving, she came across her treasure map, and the house that she bought looked exactly like the picture on her treasure map.
Oh.
I know someone who did that with her wedding dress. She knew she wanted to start a family, and she wasn't engaged or even dating anybody, but she put things on her treasure map, to indicate a marriage. And it wasn't necessarily looking at, this is the wedding dress I want, but it was a marriage. And she went out to find her wedding dress, came home and hung it on her door, and looked at her treasure map, and it was almost identical.
2 years ago today, I won $500,000 judgment award in federal court in Roanoke, Virginia. And I before I walked into the federal courthouse, I named it and claimed it as I was walking up the steps behind my lawyer. I said, I am going to win. We are going to win. I said to my lawyer, we are going to win, over and over as we walked into the building. And afterwards, we walked down those same steps and we watched the jurors come down, and I shook every single one of their hands because it was a jury verdict. Praise God.
Okay, I'm not sure how we should do timing. I know it's 7:15. Now it's kind of what time we normally go on. Is there any other questions or comments before we close out?
I have a quick question. You said you had a course.
I'm working on a new development course called Divine Dynamics, and it's currently being offered for free on my main Power Keys publishing website. The website address is Power Keys, KEYS, pub, PUB, short for publishing.com.
PowerKeysPub.com.
Yep, and right on the homepage is a description of what the new course is, and at the bottom is a sign-up form.